Community Affairs. And Jim, I mean, you're going to be wrapping up pretty soon there at the River District, so we're glad that you're here to speak to us and give us just a report on the state of the river, but also talk about these reservoir releases. And I'm sure most people here are aware you got a ballot measure passed, and what does that mean for the River District and water and ag on the Western Slope?
Good afternoon, everybody. And first of all, this screen sharing thing, I think I did it. Is my lead slide up there? Yep, I see it. I see it on the screen that Greg has.
You're good.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'd like to say thank you, Moffat County, for joining the overwhelming response to our ballot question 7A. It passed 72% overall in our 15 counties of the Colorado River District, and Moffat County passed it at 62%. I mean, 62% is a landslide in anything. And I really attribute the fact that it was so successful in Moffat to the Moffat stock growers. And the Moffat stock growers, your board wrote us a nice letter after last summer when Tri-State and the River District and Colorado Water Trust all worked together to put water in the Yampa, and the board wrote a nice letter to us, and we were really appreciative. But I know probably word of mouth from the success of that program helped build support in Moffat County for question 7A. And what 7A did, of course, was give us more financial resources to do innovative work, not only in the Yampa, but in the Colorado and the Gunnison across the 15 counties of our district. Really, up until this point, our game at the River District had been engineering, legal, working with the legislature, coming around and holding public meetings, State of the River meetings. But we never really had a lot of money to do innovative things. So now we do, and Moffat was a great supporter in helping us get there. And we'll talk in a little bit how some of that money can help power perhaps some of the innovative ideas that Jackie broached and so some of the folks in the room are already thinking about. Well, let's go back to last summer. Not a great summer. Snowpack was actually a little bit better than average in the Yampa. And then Mother Nature turned off the spigot in April and May, and we lost that all-important spring precipitation. And it doesn't all have to be snow at that point, but snow's more helpful in April, and then May showers are always to be desired in a normal year. But we didn't really get that. Then the summer turned hot, and the monsoons didn't show up. And what happened on the Yampa, we got a second call on it, and that started causing hardship in the lower basin. And we heard that, of course, and Tri-State was listening as well. So the program that got put together that probably really showed the power of what cooperation and collaboration can do, there was about 1,500 acre feet made available to put into the Yampa River to take the call off the river, basically. And so the River District was good for offered 1,000 acre feet. Tri-State offered 500 acre feet. And the Colorado Water Trust was in for 250 acre feet. And actually what got used out of the River District's pool of water, 494 acre feet, and of Tri-State's pool, 358 acre feet. So when you add all that together, for what's that, about 850 acre feet in round numbers to solve a late season problem on the Yampa. All this was done out of the desire to, although the River District's long-term desire is to keep agriculture in business. right? Why do we want to support agriculture? Agriculture that's food and fiber production. It's de facto beautiful landscapes. It's de facto wildlife habitat, and it really defines Colorado. And agriculture has the senior water rights by and large across western Colorado, and we want to protect those water rights from outside pressures, whether it be a front range desire for water, or even if we run into hardships of the Colorado Basin with the Colorado River Compact. So that's what happened. And the call came off the river in the fall, and things got better. But as we said at the time, and as Jackie alluded to, can this be something that we can look at in the future? Can we do something that's better than ad hoc? And the answer is, let's try. We can. So that's where we come back to the money that the River District earned from 7A. So with that financial ability, along with for the 80 plus years that we've had in legal, planning, engineering, and things like that, we're ready, willing, and able to sit down with people in this room, the Water Conservancy districts, tri-state, anybody who's interested, to try and put together a more concerted program to protect water users and agriculture and endangered fish in the Yampa River. I neglected to mention that out of Elkhead Reservoir, the endangered fish pool is 5,000 acre feet, and there's an ability to lease 2,000 acre feet more. And this past year, the endangered fish program used their 5,000 acre feet, and they leased 1,500 acre feet more. So the endangered fish water has always been a big player in the Yampa, and they actually upped the ask this year, and they pay for it. So that's a good thing. It's important to note that the River District does have 4,454 acre feet in Elkhead Reservoir that is leasable, and not much of that has been leased. And really, the only taker for the water that we've had over the years was Tri-State, when Tri-State up their storage in Elkhead. So the good news for the lower Yampa is that there is storage available. Now, one thing to note about our water in Yampa in Elkhead is that it's not taxpayer supported per se. It's supported by an enterprise fund and water sales. It's supposed to run like a business. So hopefully in the long term, perhaps with some of the muscle that the River District had gained in its other funding sources, some of that might be able to help assist what could happen in the future with a more concerted program dealing with low flows in the river. So, and before I get even further into what I'm talking about, folks should note that during the throes of the summer, there is a weekly phone call that takes place basically with Endangered Fish Program, the Colorado Water Conservation Board, Tri-State's on it, nonprofits are on it, the River District's on it. And the whole idea there is how to best play the endangered fish water that we have. So there's already a weekly conversation in the summer, just as there is in the Colorado main stem basin, which is very highly regulated and with a lot of competition for water. And to a lesser extent, in the Gunnison Basin with the Bureau of Reclamation and Blue Mesa Reservoir, Uncopadre water users, there's a close cooperation there too. So the models are out there for how to bring that kind of expertise, collaboration, and cooperation into the Yampa, because I think, as Jackie pointed out, the future is now. And what she was also saying, but she didn't put it this way, let's not let a good crisis go to waste. So I think going forward, with the folks at the River District, Tri-State, and the Water conservancy districts that are in the Route Moffett region will want to work towards something that's more planned and formal, administratable, and funded than an ad hoc thing that we did. But the ad hoc program this year was a good proof of the case that good things can happen. So let's talk more about the state of the river. So the river district is 80 plus some years old, and we were formed in 1937 because in the early 1930s, folks in Western Colorado were reading these kinds of headlines that Denver needs water from the western slope. And our forebears didn't think it was a very good idea to read about these kind of things in the newspaper and not know about them otherwise. And everybody's blood pressure went up, and they went to the mats, to use a mafia term. You went to the mattresses to get in the fight, and that was primarily about the Colorado Big Thompson Water Project, which is in Grand County. And so what came of that is the River District was formed to protect West Slope water and to have a dog in the fight. So what we came to be is 15 counties, 12 full counties in Western Colorado and parts of 3, and Moffett there in the northwest corner is definitely one of our counties that are in it, as is Route. And so what this area is, it's actually the prime watershed for the whole Colorado River Basin system, and about 70%, 65 to 70% of the water that flows into Lake Powell comes from this watershed right here that you're looking at. So we're pretty important in the big scheme of things we are here in Western Colorado. So in the River District's mission, through everything I've talked about and going forward, is to lead in the protection, conservation, use, and development of the water resources of the Colorado River Basin, and certainly trying to come up with a better plan for the Yampa Basin is part and parcel of doing all that. So what are our priorities? Keep water flowing to farms and ranches, securing legal protections, maintaining healthy rivers, and ensuring adequate drinking supplies. Now let's talk about hydrology. This is on average, and what this map shows you is the average precipitation in Colorado. So you look at Moffett up in the northwest corner. A lot of Moffett has between 7 and 13 inches of precipitation a year. It's a dry county. And why can we have sustainable agriculture in Moffett? Because if you go to the right, you look at the mountains in Route County, the purple area, that's a tremendous snow shed. So that's where the water is, and that the snowpack actually, we talk about reservoirs as holes in the ground, but our biggest reservoir are the snow shed, is the snowpack above 9,000 feet in elevation. And you can see you go a little bit south of Route, and the flat tops is another great snow shed. So the headwaters of the Yampa River is in eastern Route County, and in southern Route County and northern Garfield, the flat tops. So by and large, you can see Colorado is a pretty arid state. And if you consider how much water we contribute to Lake Powell, those purple areas, that's where the game is. So coming into this year, this is the current snowpack average is 66% in the Yampa Basin, 72% in the Colorado River Basin. And you look to the northwest, you see blues and greens. Those are the colors you really want to see. And this is reflective of the fact that we're in a La Nina year. And La Nina relates to Pacific water temperatures, and La Nina means colder in the Pacific, which favors snowpack in the northwest. Now, that can be good for Colorado. So there's been some stuff in the press already this year how poor things seem to be looking. But if you're going to be anywhere in Colorado in the La Nina year, you want to be in northern Colorado because the storm pattern will stay to the north. But if we're fortunate, a lot of those storms will be brushing northern Colorado, so that's good news for Steamboat. It's good news for the Yampa Basin. Let's hope that some of those storms come down into central Colorado to the Elk Range. Now, if we're lucky, they'll also come down into San Juans, but southern Colorado, in fact, New Mexico, Arizona, these are the places that are definitely not favored by a La Nina year. Still too early to tell, but if we're going to be getting snow anywhere with some degree of hopeful certainty, it's going to be in your neighborhood, or at least up in the mountains. This is percent of normal precipitation between November and December 3rd. Browns and reds are not good. You see where Moffett is in northwest Colorado. So yeah, we're going into this snowpack year with not great precipitation so far, but as I said, it's too early to panic. The other factor I should mention is that soil moisture is abysmal, and it's abysmal across the whole Colorado River Basin. And this has been a cyclic thing. We actually went into this 2019-2020 snowpack with horrible soil moisture from 2018. And why does soil moisture matter? And it's really the soil moisture that's up in the mountains. Yes, it matters to you all who are producers in your valleys, but the soil moisture in the mountains, if it's poor, the snowpack always goes into the ground first. It's just a given. So the drier the soil is, the more that the snow melt goes into the ground first before hitting the streams. So that started after the hot summer of 2018. We had a decent snowpack, especially in the Northwest this past winter. Then, as I said, it really dried out, and then it got hot this summer. And we have another platform of poor soil moisture for this snowpack. So even if we get an average snowpack this year, average isn't good enough in my view, given the soil moisture dynamics that we're facing. So yes, it seems to be getting warmer. The 14 warmest years on record, 11 have occurred since the year 2000. This is another look at it, but I think the red bars to the right just show how warm it's been since 2000. And these are measurements that they've been taken since 1895. So that's basically my presentation about hydrology. Now let's talk about the River District's successful ballot issue that Moffett County was a great supporter of. So we now have about $4.2 million a year to put toward collaborative projects with partners that are going to work in any of these areas. 1, productive agriculture. 2, infrastructure. 3, healthy rivers. 4, watershed health. And 5, conservation and efficiency. And we're pledged over time to try and fill these buckets equally, and also to distribute the money geographically in an equitable way. So we think that with the financial muscle that we now have, and the planning and engineering and river operations expertise and legal abilities we have, that something good can happen in the Yampa River. Now, besides that piece of good news, here's another piece of good news. Not everything is bleak, I hope. December 11th and 12th, we're going to get a storm. It's a little bit moisture starved, but hopefully it's going to, and it's favoring northern Colorado. So let's keep an eye out for December 11th and 12th. There's another one on track for the 15th, and yet another for the 17th. Another storm is predicted for the 22nd, which would hopefully predict a white Christmas, but that storm will be tracking through the southwest, and if anybody's going to benefit from that, as we know now, at this point in time, it would be southern Colorado, but believe me, they need the help as well. So with that, be glad to take questions, or hopefully I covered everything you wanted me to cover, Greg.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jim. So right now, if you have any questions, you can, well, one quick point before I forget, Elkhead Water is selling at $28 an acre foot. So now, $28 an acre foot for Elkhead Water.
For ag water.
Yeah, for ag water.
Yeah.
So yes, if we have any questions in the room, or if you have questions online, you can type that in and we'll get to that. Do we have any questions in here right now? I mean, one question that I had, Jim, is what kinds, I mean, the River District has got this kind of funding. Do you already have an idea of what kinds of projects? I have some people put forward some ag projects already, and what do those look like?
Right. Well, again, we have these broad buckets: productive agriculture, infrastructure. Infrastructure could be lining a ditch, healthy rivers and watershed health, and conservation and efficiency. So I think that there can be ag projects that fall within all those buckets. And what we want, and we're still working on how this process is going to work, how people can work with us to see if their project is something that we can work with. And our board first heard about that on December 3rd, which was last Thursday, and they're going to revisit it again in January. But we're looking for projects that have degrees of, and I hate using these words all the time, collaboration, cooperation, some degree of other financial support, right? Looking further into what's behind the project. Are they permittable? Is there consensus in the neighborhood? Is there consensus in the county? One of the things that we promised when we went to the ballot was that we would work with boards of county commissioners and local government to make sure that we're working on things that were truly neighborhood friendly, if you will. So I would say that probably what we're talking about in the Yampa, the River District is already looking that way, and preliminary conversations have begun on how to move forward. So I would say that's on the burner, but there's a lot to be determined there. But if somebody, this is not just for big projects. So somebody's got a $15,000 head gate that they need to work on. That's part of this as well. So yeah, if you got some kind of NRCS work behind that, or any other kind of engineering, and maybe you have a piece of roundtable funding, I would say we want to see those kind of projects too.
All right, great. Well, I think we're doing great on time.